Every family has a table, a place where bread is broken, stories are told, laughter spills, and silence is shared in a way only loved ones understand. It's not just furniture. It's where life unfolds, slowly, meal by meal, year by year. You sit at it for birthdays, and you sit at it after funerals. At the table, generations meet. Secrets are passed, hearts are softened, and chairs get filled and eventually left behind. This is the story of our family table. But it could be yours too. It's about memory and love and what matters most when everything else fades. So pull up a chair. Let me tell you something I wish I had known sooner. We were a loud family, the kind that shouted even when we weren't arguing. You'd hear us before you saw us. Car doors slamming, cousins chasing each other up the steps, someone yelling, "Don't touch that," before the screen door creaked open. But every Sunday, we showed up. Grandma's house was sacred ground. Not fancy, God, no. It was small and warm, with shag carpet that had seen too many spilled drinks and a table that could barely hold all the elbows and dishes crammed around it. But it smelled like home. Always. There was always something cooking, always something simmering. And there was always Grandma, flour on her apron, cheeks flushed, smiling like the mess was the best thing she'd ever seen. She loved us with food: roast chicken, potatoes from scratch, carrots with that sweet glaze we still can't get right. And there was her chair, always at the head of the table. A worn wooden seat with faded upholstery and a cushion she always adjusted before sitting. That was her spot, and we all knew it. We didn't start eating until she sat down. Even the rowdiest cousin knew better. It was her presence that made everything feel settled. It was her presence that made everything feel safe. As a child, you think love is the big stuff. The birthdays, the gifts, the vacations. But now, I see love in different places. In how she never took a bite until everyone had food on their plates. In how she knew exactly who liked extra gravy and who didn't like onions. In the way she placed her hands on our shoulders as she passed behind our chairs, giving a squeeze like she was silently saying, "I'm glad you're here." We didn't see the hours she spent in the kitchen. We didn't see the sore feet, the grocery bills, the mental checklist she carried every single week. We thought Sundays just happened. We thought she just happened. We didn't know how much intention lived in that little house. How much love was being poured out in the form of casseroles and cobblers and "Eat a little more, honey." She never said, "This is how I love you." She just did. Those Sundays were the glue. The world outside moved fast. People changing jobs, moving cities, getting married, getting divorced. But the table? That was the anchor. Even the cousins who rolled their eyes if family time came back. Even the uncles who didn't talk much would drive 2 hours just to sit in silence with a plate of food in front of them. And something happened at that table. Something holy, even though none of us would have called it that at the time. Arguments softened. Wounds healed. Laughter returned to lips that had forgotten how. And always, always, at the head of the table, her chair. It started slowly. First, she didn't cook. She said her legs were bothering her, so Aunt Ruth brought the food instead. Then, she needed help just getting to the table. And then, one Sunday, she didn't come out of the bedroom at all. We set the table anyway, out of habit, out of hope, out of not knowing what else to do. Her chair sat there, empty and unbothered, as if waiting for its rightful owner to come back and reclaim it. But she didn't. That Sunday, we passed dishes without her. Someone tried to say grace, but couldn't finish. And no one knew quite how to behave, like actors on stage after the lead doesn't enter on cue. Even the kids were quiet. It felt wrong, like we were pretending something wasn't missing when everything was. She passed away 3 weeks later. We didn't eat that Sunday. We gathered, but no one cooked. No one played music. The table sat bare like it too was grieving. I walked past her chair and instinctively reached for the back of it. And just that one touch, that one familiar texture, sent me into tears so deep I thought I'd never stop. Because it wasn't just a chair. It was her seat at our lives. And now it was empty forever. For months, we couldn't sit right. Someone always paused before sitting. The meals didn't taste the same, even though the recipes were the same. Laughter came, but in short, guilty bursts. It felt like we were betraying her by enjoying anything again. One time, someone put a plate in her spot by accident, and the whole room went silent. And then Aunt Ruth picked it up, walked to the sink, and quietly cried while pretending to wash a perfectly clean dish. Grief doesn't show up all at once. It shows up in small ways. An empty seat, a missing laugh, a recipe you forgot to write down. Eventually, someone sat there again. It wasn't a decision. It just happened. A cousin with a new baby needed the space. So she sat there, bottle in hand, eyes tired, unaware of the sacred spot she had just claimed. No one said anything, because deep down, we knew this is how it works. Life doesn't stop for grief. It folds it in. It learns to carry it. And maybe that's the most beautiful part. The chair wasn't empty because we forgot her. It was empty because we remembered. But love doesn't stay gone. It shows up in the next generation. In the way we hold hands before a meal. In the way we say, sit, sit, just like she did. In the way we gather, despite everything. After she passed, we found an old tin box in her closet. Inside were handwritten letters, recipe cards, ticket stubs, and photographs we'd never seen before. One of the letters was addressed to my family when I'm gone. It read, "If you're reading this, it means I'm no longer around to make Sunday dinners. But I want you to promise me one thing. Don't stop gathering. Don't let the table go cold. Love each other. Tell the stories. Argue, make up, laugh. Remember me. But more importantly, remember yourselves. I'll always be there in the buttered rolls and the cherry pie. Love, Grandma." We all cried that day. Then we baked a cherry pie that night. It didn't taste like hers, but it tasted like love. Time moves in quiet ways. One day you're the child waiting for dessert. The next, you're the one holding the serving spoon, asking people to quiet down so you can say grace. Now, I sit at the head of the table. My knees hurt. My hearing isn't what it used to be, but I know what matters. And I look around at the people still showing up, and I thank God for every single one. The table is scratched. The chairs wobble. The air smells like roasting chicken and someone's perfume. It's perfect because love doesn't care about perfection. It cares about presence. One day, someone will sit at this table and notice my chair is empty. Maybe they'll say something. Maybe they'll leave it alone. Maybe they'll put a plate there by accident and feel a sharp ache they don't understand. And maybe, if I've done this life thing right, they'll still gather, still laugh, still eat and argue and remember. Because what I hope to leave behind isn't a fortune. It's a rhythm, a heartbeat in every shared meal, a lesson in every recipe, a love that doesn't need to be explained, only felt. Every family has a table, and every table eventually has an empty chair. But that's not the end. It's the beginning of a story being passed on. The table holds the memory, the love, the legacy. So gather your people, tell the stories, cook the food, leave space for the laughter and the grief. Because one day, you'll be the memory in someone else's chair. Make it a good one.